Learning English but find it difficult, confusing, even mysterious? Are you an English teacher but find English grammar easier to use than to explain? Well, don't worry. On this show, I'll be your language detective. I'll answer your questions about the English language and help you solve these English mysteries. It's Hard-Boiled English Live. Hello, everybody. Good evening or good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Hard-Boiled English. I'm teacher Paul Duke, your host, English instructor, coach, tutor, and language detective, and I am here to solve your English mysteries. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are streaming live from Vancouver, Canada, out into the world. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Dailymotion, FC2, Africa TV, and soon to be on Bilibili in China, perhaps next week. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you're all doing well and ready to learn some English. The format of this show is simple. You can either send me questions in advance or ask questions in the comment box, and I'll do my best to answer them. I do have a few questions backed up from last week and a couple that were sent in to me this week. To get started, please say hello and tell me where you're from. Really love to get an idea of what country everyone's watching from. Okay, so you can connect with me on social media at Hardboiled English, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever your socials are. Just connect with me there, or send your questions directly to my email address, teacherpaul1965@gmail.com. For those of you who don't know me, I am the host of Hardboiled English on YouTube. It's my channel. And on that channel, you can find my flagship series. Now, flagship means main series. It's called English Weirdness. English Weirdness is an in-depth exploration of English grammar irregularities and strange features. We use dramatization, we use animation, and it's all made by myself and my students. So I'm very proud of all the hard work everyone puts into this. Okay. Now, I also run a weekly conversation cafe. Now, this is a free event. All you have to do is register in advance on Facebook. It's 7 a.m. Vancouver time, PDT, Thursdays at 7. Okay. This is just a chat. This is a chance for you to practice English, meet new friends, talk about various topics. Okay. So far, it's been really fun to do. We've had a good turnout of regular participants. If you really need help with English, I am also available for private lessons. So if you want some extra help, contact me on social media or at my website, teacherpaul.ca. There you can find information about my services, fees, costs, methods of payment, all that kind of nasty business on the website. Plus, you can see samples of what I do privately. Okay? Well, let's get started by saying hello to a few viewers. We have Chris from Belgium. Welcome to the show, Chris. We also have Wai Ha from Korea. Welcome to the show. We have Wako from Japan. Welcome, Wako. We have Satoru from, I think Satoru's in Taiwan, originally from Japan. I'm just going to make a small adjustment to my screen here, guys. I'm having trouble seeing some names. Okay. We also have Tina. Welcome, Tina. And Tina is in Slovakia, I believe. Welcome to the show. We're going to get started in a minute. Just say hi to everyone first. Some familiar faces and names, that is. And it looks like we are live on Twitter, too. So let me just check. Looks like we are broadcasting live on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, say hello, please. If you're on LinkedIn, oh, that's the other thing. We're broadcasting from LinkedIn, so it's really exciting. Oh, there's a viewer from LinkedIn, Aliyah Siddiq, I think, from Pakistan. Welcome to the show. Great. Nice to see everybody here. One thing about this show that's so exciting is meeting all of you and learning about where you're watching the show from. It's just fantastic to know that around the world, in places like Pakistan, Taiwan, Korea, Japan, people are watching the show. Belgium. We're so spread out, but we're unified in our little community of hard-boiled English learners. So it's wonderful to see you all here, guys. And thank you for joining. I would like to get started with a little segment I like to call words to use instead of good. In this segment, we look at some new adjectives. Now, in my experience as a teacher, students overuse the word good when they're describing something in a positive way. But there are dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of different adjectives we can use to describe something in a positive way. So far in 2021, we've had a whole bunch of them. But this segment is called Words to Use Instead of Good. And the adjective I'd like to introduce to you this week is extraordinary, or if you prefer the British accent, extraordinary. Extraordinary. But in Canada, we would pronounce this extraordinary. 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 What does it mean? Well, it's an adjective, and it means highly remarkable, so something that you really notice, special in some way, very different, very unique. But I like this part too, unusually great. So we can use it for, clearly we can use it for a positive meaning, positive connotation. But because it also means remarkable, which is another way of saying very noticeable, very surprising in a way, because of that, we can also probably use this word with some degree of negative meaning, okay? For example, in the last year, we've been experiencing an extraordinary pandemic, okay? No one likes the pandemic. It's clearly not a good thing for anyone, but it is out of the ordinary. That's what extra means. Extra doesn't necessarily mean good. Extra means in addition to or above. So you have ordinary, which is the sort of normal conditions we would have. And then you have conditions that are larger or more unusual outside of that limit. So extraordinary can be used for a negative meaning. However, generally speaking, this word is used for a positive meaning. So what I'd like you to do is try writing some sentences in the comment box using this word. And I'll put a couple of my own examples up here. The pizza I ate was extraordinary. It had lobster on it. Or I saw an extraordinary dog. The dog had 4 ears. Very unusual dog. Okay? Unusually great. Extraordinary dog. So let's see what you guys come up with. Give me a sentence using this adjective instead of good. Anyone have a suggestion? Type it into the comment box, please. Extraordinary. In the meantime, I'm going to check our Twitter feed and see who's watching there. Okay, we have an example from Chris. Chris says, the rain in Belgium this month was extraordinary. Yes, indeed, and that's a really great example. And I think, Chris, you'll agree, in this case, it wasn't necessarily good, right? Rain in general is good. It's good for the vegetables and the plants and the flowers and the grass. But Belgium has experienced way too much rain to the point where it's been dangerous and damaging. We have Lance Cameron saying, this English learning page is extraordinarily better than anything I've seen. So he's using the adverb form, extraordinarily, to describe an adjective, which I bet you may not be aware, adverbs can modify adjectives, right? Extraordinarily better. Great job, Lance. And by the way, welcome to the show, Lance. Great to see you. We have Profe Wilson. I have an extraordinary student. By the way, guys, if you're just joining the show, please tell us where you're watching from. We'd like to get a sense of where in the world everyone is. So far, we've had Taiwan, Japan, we've got Belgium in the house, we've got Slovakia, we've got Pakistan. It's great. What else do we have? We have Waiha saying, my wife is extraordinary at nagging. Okay, that's a complication. We have Aliyah saying, what an extraordinary thing to say. Very nice. Anyone else want to try? Who else is in there? Extraordinary. This morning I made myself an extraordinary salad. I put tomatoes, lettuce, eggs, chicken, onions, avocado, lemon. So simple, but it was extraordinary. It was unexpected and unusually great. I thought it would be boring. Yes, we have Wilson. Wilson's from Ecuador. Very nice. I didn't recognize the first part of your name, Wilson. Great to see you. We have Ricardo in the house. And Ricardo, I believe, is in Argentina, right? Tina says, you've got an extraordinary memory when you've remembered all the names and countries your students are from. Well, that's nice of you to say. It's funny, I don't remember things that I did yesterday. I'm getting a little old, so I'm quite forgetful. But for some reason, I usually am pretty sharp with remembering names and places and faces. I can remember most of the students I've taught over the years. It's kind of weird. But maybe teachers like Wilson, Tina, I think you're a teacher as well. I think you may know what I mean. Ricardo, am I wrong? Are you in Argentina? I'm not 100% sure. Anyone else have a sentence to offer? Oh, this is nice. I was so pleased with the extraordinary pleasant interview with a young lady out of Pakistan. That's interesting, Chris. I'm going to do an interview with her this evening after the show, if all goes well. But by the way, because you have the word pleasant, pleasant is an adjective, Chris. So if you're going to describe an adjective, you need the adverb form, or extraordinarily pleasant. Think of other adverbs that modify an adjective like that. You might say something like unusually pleasant, right? What's another one? Extremely pleasant. So if you want to modify an adjective in front of a noun, make sure you use the adverb form. Aliyah says, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. Oh, I like that. Very nice. Ricardo says, yes, teacher, I'm from Argentina, and your memory is extraordinary without any doubt. Well, thank you. Thank you. One of the tricks with memory, guys, is to eat good food. Eat healthy food. Your brain will work better. There's an old expression I heard once. Let me share it with you before we move on. Something to the effect of, eat lots of fish. Fish makes brains. Brains makes money. Money buys more fish. We have Marzia. Marzia, am I saying it correctly? Marzia joining us. Where are you watching from, Marzia? Tell us what country you're in. like to get an idea of who's watching from where. We've got a great group here, lots of different countries representing. Fabulous. Marzieh, am I saying it correctly? Marzieh Goreshi. Hopefully I'm not making a mess of your name. I think names are important. We have Jay Suarez. Hi, Teacher Paul. Oh, it's Jader. Jader from Brazil. Can you help us with some helpful expressions, vocabulary that we can use during the job interview? Okay, that's interesting. Well, let's clear the adjective of the day off. Now, Jader's asking an interesting question here. When you're in a job interview, are there some important vocabulary that you might want to use? The problem with this question, Jader, or let's say the problem with the answer is this. The words you use in an interview are going to depend on the kind of job you're applying for. If you're applying for an engineering job, naturally you want to tell them, you want to use engineering vocabulary because you want them to know that you know your engineering topic and therefore you're qualified for the job. You've had the right education. If you're applying for a job as a teacher, they're probably expecting to hear a bunch of linguistic expressions, like comprehensible input or total physical response, the kind of words that belong in that area or discipline of study only. So, in a job interview, there's not a bunch of magic words to say that are going to get you the job. Generally, and Jader, I think you're still in Canada. In Canada, if you're applying for a job, what they're looking for is this. They're looking at you, not at your resume. Okay, they've already looked at your resume and decided he's qualified. The best thing you can do in an interview is be yourself. Naturally, be polite. So use expressions like please, thank you. Use full sentences. Don't use slang like, what's up, dude? Say good morning, how are you? Be polite. Use full sentences. Use as accurate grammar as you can. Okay? Put that aside. They want to know who you are because they are deciding whether or not they want to spend hours and hours and days and weeks and months, maybe years, working with you. So they want a sense of your character. They want a sense of what you believe is good, what you believe is not good, what you like, what are your interests, what are your hobbies, what are your dreams, because they're going to decide, do you fit our company or not? That is far more important than knowing a bunch of magic vocabulary that's automatically going to get you the job. Because if I give you a list of vocabulary and said, use this in an interview, and you use that in the interview out of place, it doesn't apply to the situation, out of context, it's going to sound unnatural. It's going to sound like you rehearsed your interview. I don't recommend that. A job interview is a chance for the employer to take a look at you as a person. It's better if they know about your family and your hobbies, right? That is more important than a bunch of important vocabulary. So I can't remember, Jader, what your degree and your major was, but I think it was engineering. I can't remember. But so, if you're educated in that field, they're going to ask you questions about engineering. So you should know, and I think you do, know the language of that profession. So make sure you pull out the big words from that profession if it's called to. But a lot of times interviews don't even talk about the job. They'll instead talk about what you like to do on weekends. What do you want to do in 10 years? What are your dreams? How important is family life for you? How important is your job? They're going to want to know you as a person because in the end, they assume you're qualified based on your resume. The interview is a chance to decide whether or not they want to spend lots of time working with you. And if they don't like you, they will not hire you, even if your resume is amazing, right? And if your resume isn't super great, they might hire you if they like you and want to work with you and want to teach you. So, Jader, I'm not going to give you a list of magic vocabulary that will help you in a job interview. I would say be polite, be respectful, say please and thank you. Use full sentences. Show them that you can speak English well, not just copy a bunch of rap music lyrics or, I don't know, country and western slang or gangster talk from the latest gangster movie. You know, they want to know that you can communicate well, but just be yourself. Okay? That's my advice about job interviews. Marzia says, yes, I'm from Iran. Welcome to the show. Great. I think you're the first viewer who's watched us from Iran. That's wonderful. We have Tirath joining us. Tirath is from Nepal. We have Roni from Bangladesh. Jadar's in business administration. Great. Well, Jadar, you're a smart guy. You know about business administration because that's what you study. So use the language of business administration, right? There's no special job interview vocabulary. There isn't. There's the language and the terms from business administration, and you know those. So when the time is right, use those words. There's no magic job interview questions, okay? But I would say, be yourself. You're a good guy. You're smart. You're friendly. You'll get that job. Okay, I'd like to move on, guys, because I have a couple of questions outstanding. Oh, Yoshishige is here. Yoshishige from Japan says, you always give us an extraordinary lesson. Perfect sentence. Thank you very much. Okay, now I have a question that was sent in to me. Can we pull the first one up? Actually, let's go to the next one. That's one that's going to take time. Sorry. Yeah, actually, these are out of sequence. These should be faster. Okay. Okay, guys. So this was sent in to me earlier in the week. It's a great question. Something that even native speakers struggle with. So by the way, this was sent in by an old friend of mine who is a native speaker, and he runs a company. And a lot of times people apply for jobs at his company, and he notices that these native speakers often struggle with this, these three words or these three phrases. We have there, and there. Okay? Now, the problem, of course, is what you just heard. They are pronounced exactly the same. There. Now, those of you who know me enough to know that one of the things I always emphasize when you're learning English, maybe not other languages, but definitely English, you've got to read. And this is why. English has irregular spellings, irregular phrasings, and irregular grammar. And you will never know that if you only listen to the language. If you read it, you can clearly see that they're spelled differently. Okay? But if you only listen and you never read anything, there, and there, there's no difference to you. So right away, if I meet someone who doesn't use those correctly, I know they don't read. Okay? So we're going to go through these. And I'm going to use an example and tell you what they mean. Okay, the first one is a kind of a pronoun. We use it as an empty subject. So there is, there is a store nearby. So in my neighborhood is a store. There is a store. It exists. There is just tells us it exists. Nothing more, just there is. Okay? It's pointing to something's existence. Okay? Hey, there is a weekly live show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It's called Hardboiled English. It exists. There is. Or there are, if it's plural. We can also use that as a pronoun of place, like I put it there. I put it there. Okay, where's the book? Oh, I put it there. Okay, that's the use of that. They are is something completely different. You'll see an apostrophe, which indicates that something has been dropped out and put together. So the apostrophe here indicates there's something missing, and two words are being connected, right? You've seen that before with cannot, right? Not becomes contracted. That's what this is. What it really means is they are, they are. So they, pointing to a group of people, or a stack of books, or a bunch of stores, they are, in this case, people, they are nice. They are nice students. Now, that's, if you say that fast enough, it naturally comes together, right? They are, there, right? And it just kind of contracts, right? Nadim says there is also adverb. Exactly, that's what this is here, right? It tells us where you put it, where the action happened. So that's adverb use. They're nice. That's they are. That's a subject and a verb. Okay? A subject and a verb together. That's a very, very different thing than this is. This is alone. There. There is possessive. So let's say their store is nice. So two people own a store, a husband and wife, they own a store. It's their store. It's not pointing anymore. It's explaining that it's possession. The store is owned by those two people. Their store. Okay? That's the difference. They sound the same, but grammatically they're working different functions and telling us different things. That's the difference. This should be the easiest to remember. The apostrophe is connecting two separate words. That's one word. That's one word. This one should always be clear. I don't know why it's not clear sometimes, other than the sound. Clearly, that's two words. They are. A subject and a verb. That's very different than this or this. Okay? So Tirath is giving us an example. People say, there is a ghost in that tree. So I don't want to go there. Perfect. So he's using there as an empty subject. There is a ghost in the tree. He's also using it as an adverb. He doesn't want to go. Where? There. Okay, very nice. Okay, Jadar has a question. Let me just wipe the board down a bit, Jadar, and I'll get to your question. Okay. Ask me one question at a time, Jadar. I can't read too much all one time. So, there is, there are. I said before that this is a dummy or empty subject. And what it means is we're not putting the true subject in this position. It's over here. Okay? There is a store. There are 3 dogs. Okay, so you're telling me a store exists. You're telling me 3 dogs exist. It's not an action. You're just telling me they exist, nothing more. So, store, a store is one store. It's singular. So this is the true subject. So it has to agree with that. Just like we would say he or she is. Okay. Here the true subject is dogs, and there's 3 of them. It's plural. It has to agree with that verb. Okay, remember, this is a dummy subject. It's like a substitute. The true subject is over here. So if this is plural, use are. If this is singular, use is. Why would you do this? Well, it's a way of just moving the true subject into a different position. It gives you variety. You could say 3 dogs are there. A store is there, but it's a slightly different meaning. right? Then it's using it as an adverb. So it just gives you a variety of sentence structures that you can pull out. Okay. Okay, the next question Jotter's asking is about everything, everybody. What was the other one? Well, I'll give you everyone, nobody. Okay. And they work with is. And the reason is these are singular grammar words. These are nouns. We call them collective nouns or plural nouns. They represent a group. Yes, there's a lot of things in everything. There's a lot of everybody's, a lot of people in everybody, a lot of people in everyone. There's a lot of people in nobody. But remember, we also use this grammar for things like a company. Okay? The company is, or let's name the company, Jotter. Let's say Apple is. Well, Apple is a company. It's a single corporate entity. But guess what? It's made of people, more than one. It's not just Steve Jobs. He's got thousands of people working there. Well, he doesn't, but Tim Cook does. The company, that company over there, it's more than one person. But that noun is singular. Everything. It's made of many things, but here's the other thing to ask. Could you tell me how many there are? I bet you can't. If I say, everybody watching the show is really nice, I don't know how many people are watching. I really don't. So I can't really say that's plural because I don't even know the number. And nobody is pretty singular, right? Because it means zero. So think of it that way. These are made of a group, but they're not describing the group. They're describing the group as a collective single noun, a collective piece or a collective object, right? Everyone who watches the show is nice. Okay. When I say everyone, you're put all together in one big box. And now that box is single. It's singular. The box is singular. Okay. Same with the company. All of your employees put together form the company. Now, employees is plural because you're talking about individual people counted along. But the company is a single entity. Okay. All right. Let's move on quickly to the next one. Along the same lines, something about wrong. Can you find that one? Wrong, something, something. What's wrong? It's in the captions. It's prepared already. Okay. Just take a moment to say hello to Zahirul, I think. Herman's here. Did I miss anyone? It's okay, we'll come back. Okay, there's a question I have sent in this week. How do I use the apostrophe in what's wrong or what's wrong? So let's look at this sentence. First of all, you guys tell me if that's a good sentence or not. Take a look. You tell me if it's a good English sentence or not. What's wrong with this picture? Okay, let's make it a question. What's wrong with this picture? Is that a good English sentence or not? Yes or no? Type it in. What's wrong with this picture? Type that in. I'm going to take a little water break because it's really melting here in the home studio. Okay, we have one no. Jader Suarez says no. I see your question, Ricardo, and I will get to it. Chris says no. Wako says no. Okay, well, the consensus is it's not a good English sentence. And you're right, it's not. And here's why. Tina's got it. There's no verb. If there's no verb, it is not even a sentence. It's what we call a phrase, right? This is not an English sentence at all. Never mind that it's not correct. It's not even a sentence. And here's how you'd check. I have this little mental game I want you all to learn. Whenever I want to check if something is a complete independent clause, an independent clause, and we're going to talk about this in a minute. In other words, a sentence that can stand by itself from the first letter to the period or the punctuation. That's an independent clause. It needs a subject and it needs a verb. But here's the little mental test. Imagine you're at the bus stop. Okay? You're at the bus stop and there's a nice old lady sitting down. You walk up to that old lady and you say, "Excuse me, what's wrong with this picture?" Okay? Or something like this. "Excuse me, ma'am, the dog happy?" How will she react? Well, she's going to think you're crazy. The dog happy? What do you mean? That makes no sense to her. It's not independent. You can't say it to someone and have them understand it as a complete idea. Okay? Or I see this a lot with my students. Sometimes they'll say, for example, the dog. For example, the dog. They might have a sentence here like, "I like animals." But they make a mistake and they put a period. "I like animals." That's independent, right? You can tell that to the lady at the bus stop. "Excuse me, I like animals." "Oh, isn't that adorable?" she'll say. But try this. "Excuse me, for example, the dog." Well, she's going to think you're crazy. She's going to call the police. That's not an independent clause. There's no verb. There's no verb here. So we need a verb. What is the verb? Well, the verb is the be verb. What is wrong? Okay? What is wrong? And just like we could do before with they are, remember what we did with they are? That's a be verb. That's a be verb. We can collapse this with an apostrophe and contract it. So that is correct. What's wrong? Or what is wrong? Right? Without the apostrophe, what you're doing is making this plural. Right? For example, animals. That's plural, more than one. We don't put an apostrophe there. Well, some people do, and it's wrong. Unless you say the animals, something that they own, like the animal's fur is nice. But if you're just talking about plural, the apostrophe doesn't work. The apostrophe is there to indicate two words are compressed into one. Yeah, Tirath has got the right idea. And the problem again is you can't tell the difference between what's and what's just by listening to the language. You've got to read. Some languages you can learn just by listening and talking. English is not one of them. It's a highly irregular language. It's made of different languages, smushed together. And the only way to truly, truly grasp it is to incorporate reading into your learning. If you don't, you'll get these things confused. And like I said, when I see someone confusing this, I know they don't read. And I'm a little suspicious of people that don't read. Even if you just read on the phone, on your internet, at least you're learning things. For me, if you don't read, there's something wrong because it probably means you don't like learning new things. Some things you can learn by doing them, of course. But there's a lot of knowledge that needs to be written out because it's complex. Okay, now I'm going to go back a little bit to Ricardo's question. Whether versus if. Okay. They can both be used in conditional structures. I'm not going to go too into conditionals today because there's a great episode of my English Weirdness series that deals with conditionals. So Ricardo, I recommend you go to the English Weirdness on the YouTube channel and find the episode. The thumbnail says, "What the hell are conditionals?" But here's what it is. The idea of whether is that it works with this idea, whether or not. Okay, so what you're kind of deciding between two choices, right? So I'm thinking whether or not to go to the movie tomorrow night. I could go to the movie or I could not go to the movie. I have two choices, whether or not. Whether or not I learn English depends how much I study and practice, right? Hi, Dai. Dai's here from Ecuador. Welcome to the show. So whether is used to indicate that there are two possibilities here, okay? So you might make a sentence like, whether I go to the movie. And here's the trick. You don't really need to say that. If you use the word whether, you can imply it. Whether I go to the movie or not depends on the weather. And that's the different spelling of the word weather. That's the rain and the snow, weather. Same sound, weather, weather. Whether I go to the movie depends on the weather. Okay, it's just a funny way to remember it. But you don't even need to say that. But it's implied that you're thinking about two choices. Because look closely. Whether I go to the movie. Well, when you use that word, you're implying the opposite choice. Whether I go to the movie or don't go to the movie depends on the weather. Okay? So let's look at if. If is used for conditionals. If it rains, I will not go to the movie. This is a conditional sentence. This is a first conditional. There are four basic ones. So if it rains, if that happens, this, well, in this case, this will not happen. Okay? If it is sunny, I will go to the movie. So in a conditional sentence, what you're doing is you're offering an if clause, right? This is the condition. If this condition happens, and a condition is like a term or a situation or a possible context. So if this happens, it will lead to this result. If this condition happens, it will lead to that result. If this condition doesn't happen, this result will not happen. That's a conditional. And if puts that condition into the discussion. Okay? That's the difference. Okay. How's our time looking? Okay, let's go to Satoru's question. And Roni, are you there with us still, Roni? Please tell me if you're with us, Roni. Because I wanted to discuss something with you tonight, but I think we're going to run out of time. So I'm going to make a priority of your question next week. As well, I'll talk to you in a private chat about it because it needs a little more time. Okay. Satoru's question is how to use either A or B or neither A nor B. Like, I don't sit down. Okay. Good. Start with this proposition, Satoru. A sentence only needs one negative. Let's remember that, okay? A sentence needs only one negative. Okay, so either and neither is a way of offering two choices. Either is positive, neither is negative. So, hey, Paul, what do you want to do tonight? Well, we can either go to a movie or to a store. I don't know. Store isn't so entertaining, but those are our two choices. We have two choices. Go to a movie or to a store. Two destinations. Okay. And this we can do, positive. This we can also do, positive. So you can see here, there's no negative word. There's no not, right? And negative words, you'll notice, Satoru, like not, they have an N. Never. There's an N. Nor. There's an N. Neither. Neither. There's an N. Negative words have an N. So a simple trick is to count the N's in your sentence. Now, let's say the weather is terrible. We've got rains, we've got floods. It's terrible outside. Let's stay home. Okay. That means we can neither go to a movie nor a store. Okay. Now, we've got an N here. We've got neither, but it needs to work with this. They're partners. These are called paired conjunctions. So they have to work together. But we don't want to say like this. We don't want to put another negative in here. We can't not neither. Because if you put two N's, it's just like math. Negative and a negative equals a positive. Right? Negative plus negative, double negative equals a positive. Same with English. If you say, I don't never eat pizza, well, now you've got two N's. You've got a double negative. That means you do eat pizza. A double negative turns into a positive. I don't never eat pizza. Well, that means you eat pizza. So watch out for that. And yes, native speakers do say that. Well, they're wrong. In fact, sounds kind of stupid, to be honest with you, because it's turning that sentence into a positive, and I know they don't mean it as a positive. Or you might hear this one. I ain't never eat pizza. That's even worse, because not only do you have double negative, you're using ain't, which is really a low level of English. It's really deep slang. I don't recommend you use it. So Satoru is asking, if we can say, we cannot either, blah, blah, blah. Well, Satoru, I suppose back in history, people did say that. And then they realized, not either sounds like too many words. Let's just mix them together and make one word, and let's call it neither. English wants to be concise, right? It wants to use the fewest words possible. In other words, one word is better than two. Two is better than three. I say this all the time. So it makes sense to say we cannot either, but there's no reason to say that. We have a word that means that. It's one word. We can neither. So you're asking me, can you say it? Well, you can say whatever you want. I'm assuming you live in a pretty free country. You're not going to go to jail if you say we cannot either. But don't do it. You don't need to. We've got the perfectly usable word here. If you want to mention the negative, use neither. Neither nor, either or. They work together. So can you say it? Yeah, but don't. You don't need to. We've got a word that replaces those two words. And using it sounds a lot more natural. So Dai says people use that double sentence. I'm not sure what you mean. But yeah, people do use the double negative. I don't want you to. You're smarter. This does not sound very good. I'm going to be honest with you. Here, you can expect the hard-boiled truth about English use. I'm not going to say, well, you can use it and then you'll sound cool like like American English or Canadian English. I'm not going to tell you that. This doesn't sound cool. Now you might hear your favorite rapper use that. Okay? Well, that rapper's cool because they make music. They do something special that people love. And they might talk like that, but it's probably because they didn't have as good an education as you did. And they wish they could speak like you, right? They're not cool because they use this. They're cool despite the fact they talk like this. So this doesn't make you sound cool. To be honest with you, it makes you sound less educated than you are. So don't use double negatives. If you ask me, it sounds stupid. That's the truth. It makes it sound like you don't know the difference, right? Why would you use a double negative? Why wouldn't you just use the correct one? Don't ever. The only reason to use a double negative is if you intend to emphasize something. That's a different story. If someone has already told you a negative and you want to imply that the negative is negative, that's possible. But if you don't know this form, study it. Study how to use negatives. You just need one negative per sentence. Do not, then the rest is positive. This is just bad English, so let's get this out of your life. Can neither go. Okay, there's the negative. That's all you need, one negative. You need nor to connect the other word, but that's because you have two objects down there. Okay. Lance Cameron says, don't learn from social media, learn from Teacher Paul. Thank you, Lance. It's great to have your support, buddy. Lance Cameron and I go way back in time. We knew each other when we were little kids, teenagers. Thanks for joining the show, Lance. Great to see you here. And thanks for your suggestions and your contributions to our lineup of questions. So hopefully that clears up some mysteries. Satoru says, thank you, and now it's clear for me. Great. I'm happy about that. Now, by the way, Satoru, maybe this is something we can talk about on the next show, but using those paired conjunctions, either or, neither nor, there's actually several more of them, both and, not only, but also. There's a complex structural way to use those because they can pair subjects, they can pair verbs, or they can pair objects. We just paired objects, right? I can either go to the movie or to the store. So those are two objects. Go is the verb that applies to both, but we could have two different verbs or two different subjects. So maybe next time we'll talk about that in a little more detail. I think I've got time for Jader's last question. Dai's question? Okay, let's pop that up. So how can I identify slow as an adjective or adverb? Okay, great. So slow is one of those words that can be an adjective and an adverb. You're going to have to determine it from position. So let's say we have Let's see if I can get a response from my friend here. Okay, let's look at the second one first. The Viper is a slow car. So what do we have? We have a subject, we have a verb, and we have an object down here, and the object is a noun. Okay, and generally speaking, adjectives come before nouns. So if you see a noun here with slow in front of it, we can assume it's the adjective. Okay? Up here, what do we have? We have subject, verb, and we don't have a noun here. Right? We don't have a noun. So this is not an adjective describing a noun. That's just not possible. There is no noun. And it's not describing the subject because we have a verb here. If we had is, a be verb, that could describe the subject, but we don't have that. We have an action verb, runs. So this is clearly describing runs. But there's another problem. If that's the adverb, that's not how you spell it. That's the adverb. So in point of fact, slow is not one of those words that can be both an adverb and an adjective. It has an adverb form. So we should use that. Now, if you learn English from Americans, from the United States, unfortunately, you may see this a lot. You may see them using adjectives instead of adverbs. I'm a sports fan, so I watch a lot of sports, and a lot of the broadcasters and journalists in the industry are former athletes. They've spent their life becoming great athletes. Maybe they didn't do their homework at school so much. So they'll say things like this. He played beautiful. Right? He ran amazing. Tom Brady threw the ball. Good. Okay? Well, he played beautiful. So that's describing the way he played. Should be the adverb form. Americans often say beautiful as an adverb. That's just wrong. He ran amazing. So that's describing how he ran. Amazing's an adjective. So it should be amazingly. Tom Brady threw the ball good? No. Well. Well is the adverb. Good is an adjective, right? The Viper is a good car. So Di says, I'm confused because I read in a book slowly, so I can use slow and slowly. Di, it's really simple. Slow is the adjective, the slow car. Slowly is the adverb. So if you're describing an action, use slowly. If you're describing an object, a noun, use slow. And Lance is correcting us. He says, no, it is not. I know Lance is a fan of Dodge Vipers. One last thing. Professor Wilson says, I don't ever eat pizza. Is it a good and understandable sentence? It's possible. I don't ever eat pizza. So we have do not ever eat pizza. That's okay, but that's 1, 2, 3 words. 3 words, Wilson. English wants to be efficient. It's different than Spanish and it's different than Portuguese, which are languages that want to be more outgoing, just like Latin American people tend to be, right? English is more reserved, more concise. It wants to have fewer words, right? Think of James Bond. He doesn't speak a lot. He's from the UK. He's an Englishman. He speaks concisely with as few words as possible. You could say, don't ever eat. Or you could just say, never. Never is a negative. I never eat pizza. 1 word is better than 3. Use 1 word if you have a choice, and you have a choice. Now, you might not know the word, so you might think you have no choice, That's why you have to learn your vocabulary. That's why you need to study. You need lots of words. Because if you have the right word, you can get rid of 3 words and have 1. And 1 word is definitely better than 3. Do not ever. Never. Just use never. Way better. Okay? I know I missed a couple here. Jadar wants to know about wood. Jadar, I'm going to talk about that next week. We're running out of time, and my camera is about to melt. So I'm going to talk to you about that. Or Jadar, if you want, you can go to my YouTube channel and watch the English Weirdness episode all about conditionals. It's called What the Hell Are Conditionals? I don't have the poster here. Actually, maybe we can put the link. Jadar, I'm going to put the link in the chat box here, because that video explains how to use wood in great detail. Okay, so I just put a link to my YouTube channel. By the way, please go there and subscribe. But that video is also the same one I mentioned when we were talking about if. So watch that video, guys. It explains how to use if. It explains how to use would. And then we'll review it next week on the show. Okay, guys. I'm just going to say thanks to everyone. Thank you to Chris from Belgium for watching. Wai Ha from Korea. Wako from Japan. Satoru from Japan through Taiwan. Tina from Slovakia. Aliyah from Pakistan. Thank you for watching. Lance, didn't tell us where you're from, but I think you're somewhere in Canada. Wilson, thank you, from Ecuador. Ricardo from Argentina, thanks for watching. Marzia from Iran, welcome and thank you. Jadar Suarez from Brazil in Canada. Yoshishige from Japan, enjoy the Olympics, stay safe. Tirath from Nepal, our regular friend. Roni from Bangladesh, another regular friend. Roni, I will answer your question in private, okay? We have Nadim, but I can't remember where Nadim is from. Bangladesh? Zahirul. Zahirul is from, I can't remember. Dai from Ecuador. Thank you for watching, everybody. Oh, Dai is from Venezuela, but live in Ecuador. Okay, good. Hopefully you're enjoying a good life in Ecuador. And I hope Venezuela improves itself. For those of you out there who are just finishing up your Ramadan festival, happy Eid Mubarak to you all. Hopefully you enjoyed your summer and your festival and have a great time with your friends and family. Guys, what can I say? It's fantastic to work with you every week. It's great to see you all from your different countries. Anaf Hassan is saying hello for the first time. Anaf Hassan, thank you for watching. Where are you? What country are you in? Guys, I've got to go. So I'm going to say thank you. You're awesome. Keep learning English. Remember, 1 word is better than 2, and 2 and 3, and 1 is definitely better than 3. Study your vocabulary. Learn your grammar. See you next week, guys. And until then, stay cool.